In the shadow of the old English town of Buxton, nestled amongst the rolling hills, stood an ancient manor, known as Wycliffe Hall. This grand edifice, with its spiral towers and expansive gardens, bore an ominous reputation as being haunted by a restless spectre, known only as the Lady of Wycliffe Hall. In 1830, the lady had been Miss Eleanor, a vibrant beauty betrothed to a dashing soldier. On their wedding eve, the soldier left for a skirmish, promising to return. Eleanor, left with a heart full of hope, awaited him each night, pacing the corridors in her wedding gown, a candle illuminating the way. But he never returned. Eleanor died of a broken heart, and it was said her spirit lingered, waiting eternally for her lost love. As the centuries passed, the hall crumbled into disrepair, yet the lady's spirit remained, her spectral presence the sole inhabitant of the decaying mansion. In May 2023, a young historian, Edward, fascinated by the story of the ghostly lady, decided to stay in the manor to unravel the truth. Determined and excited, Edward arrived at Wycliffe Hall, armed with a notebook, a camera, and an unshakable resolve. The first few nights were quiet, but then the strange occurrences began. Flickering lights, a soft humming lullaby, and the faint scent of a lady's perfume. Edward, however, was undeterred, documenting these paranormal phenomena with an academic fervor. Yet, the lady remained elusive. On the seventh night, Edward decided to walk the corridors as Eleanor had done in her lifetime. He held a single candle, mimicking her nightly vigil, and walked the echoey halls of Wycliffe. As he paced, he began to feel an inexplicable chill creeping through the air. The house seemed to breathe with him, the stone walls closing in as the wind howled ominously outside. As Edward moved through a long, grand hallway, his candle flickered violently before extinguishing, leaving him in total darkness. His heart pounded in his chest, the silence of the hall now filled with a quiet, eerie echo. Suddenly, a soft glow appeared at the other end of the hallway. It grew brighter and brighter until it took the shape of a woman. A figure dressed in a wedding gown, her face obscured by a long, flowing veil. She held a candle in her hand, casting long, dancing shadows across the walls. Edward stood frozen, captivated by the ethereal figure. The spectral lady raised her head, revealing a pair of hauntingly beautiful, yet melancholic eyes. She glanced at Edward and then slowly began to fade, her light diminishing until she was nothing more than a soft glow, then a flicker, then nothing. When dawn broke, Edward found himself still standing in the hallway, the scent of a lady's perfume lingering in the air. He looked down at the floor, where a single, shimmering teardrop glistened. A tangible trace of the lady's spectral visit. Having experienced the haunting sorrow of the Lady of Wycliffe Hall, Edward left the manor with a newfound respect for the spectral entity. His initial goal of demystifying the lady had evolved into a profound understanding of her eternal plight. Edward shared his experiences, immortalizing the lady's tragic tale in a book. His account renewed interest in Wycliffe Hall, not as a haunted house to fear, but as a symbol of eternal love and longing. Set in the heart of the Black Forest, stood an ancient, dilapidated mill, ominously known as the Wind Whisperer. The mill, with its giant, weather-beaten wheel and rotting wooden panels, was infamous in the local folklore for being haunted by the spirit of a young miller named Friedrich. Friedrich had once been a cheerful, hard-working young man who was deeply in love with a village girl named Liesel. But their love story was cut tragically short when Friedrich, while repairing the giant wheel, was swept into the rushing river below. It was said that his spirit lingered, forever pining for his lost love. In the spring of 2023, an ambitious paranormal investigator, Clara, intrigued by the haunted mill and Friedrich's tragic story, decided to stay in the village to conduct an in-depth investigation. Armed with a spirit box, a digital recorder, and a determination to uncover the truth, Clara set off for the mill. The first few days passed uneventfully, but soon, odd occurrences began. Muffled sobs echoed through the night, tools moved on their own, and the old mill wheel, despite being rusted and broken, began to turn slowly. Intrigued and determined, Clara meticulously documented these strange happenings, yet Friedrich's spirit remained elusive. On the 8th night, Clara decided to mirror Friedrich's tragic demise. She positioned herself near the old mill wheel, attempting to replicate the circumstances of that fateful night. As she stood near the wheel, a sudden gust of wind blew, and the air grew chillingly cold. The moon shone ominously as the trees around the mill groaned under the force of the wind. Suddenly, she heard a soft, melancholic tune, a love song known to the villagers and one that Friedrich often sang to Liesel. The tune grew louder, and then she saw him. A faint, ghostly figure, standing near the mill wheel. He wore a miller's garb, his face pale and sad. He held out his hand, as if waiting for someone to take it. Clara watched, captivated by the spectral apparition. As she moved closer, Friedrich's spirit turned to her, and for a moment, their eyes met. Clara saw deep sorrow in his eyes, a longing that seemed to transcend time. And then, just as quickly as he appeared, Friedrich's ghost faded into the wind, leaving only the haunting melody of his song. As the sun rose, Clara found herself standing near the mill wheel, the sound of the love song still lingering in her ears. She found a small, rusted tool lying nearby, a tangible reminder of her spectral encounter. Changed by her encounter with Friedrich's spirit, Clara left the village with a deep respect for the mill and its eternal guardian.